guys, welcome back. Skippers and Fantasy Baseball are finally back for 2022. Hopefully, after you've seen this video, the MLB and the Players Union have come to an agreement. Baseball's back on, and we are going to get you ready for the Fantasy Baseball season. We're going to go into must-draft players. We got 6 for you. Did the same thing last year. We're going to try and give you some good guys. We didn't do so well last year.
No, we look back at our video from, obviously last year was our first ever video as a company, I guess as a brand.
Yeah.
We probably hit 1 or 2 of the 6.
300 Hall of Fame players, right?
Hey, yeah, for sure, 100%. I'm excited. I feel really good this year picking my 3. One of them I for sure wanted to talk about, a popular pick, but very excited to talk about some must-draft.
All right, so last year we did early, mid, late round. This year we just want to pick our guys.
Yeah.
I think it was more me because I said I had 13 players I want to pick for this, and I was only allowed 3. So, Jer, do the honors.
Yeah, so my first guy is Shane Bieber with an ADP of 30 right now. He's going in the 3rd round, and I got to say, I love the value with him this year. If I can get him as my SB1 in the 3rd, I'm like ecstatic. I think this guy is so talented. You look at that 2020 season, we're going to go back to that. He was just unbelievable. I mean, best ERA in the MLB, most strikeouts in the MLB. And then he comes last year, has the injuries, right? But you look at before he got injured, and he had double-digit strikeouts in 5 of his first 6 starts, pitched 6 innings in 6 of his first 8 games. Like, he brought his 2020 season into the 2021 season, got injured, and then obviously we know Cleveland was just really bad last year. They had shortened starts when he came back. I think that their focus was just like, hey, like,
let's get you ready for next year.
Yeah, let's get you ready for 2022. Like, we're going to need you, obviously, and we're not going to make playoffs. Shane Bieber's value here. Also, people forget, I personally forgot, this guy's only 26 years old.
Pretty good.
He's the youngest pitcher of the top 8 fantasy pitchers ranked right now. So, I mean, that kind of like eases me with the injury. Like, he's still young. Like, if Scherzer had this injury, it's a little different at his age. But Bieber being only 26, I think he rebounds well from the shoulder injury.
That's good. It's not a guy I've really looked into. And you said as your first starting pitcher on your team, I'm a big guy of go 2 bats early. And if you can get that as your first starter, I don't think that's a bad call at all.
I love that combo.
So I'm going to go a guy that's going to be talked about a lot, I think, in the fantasy community, and that is Byron Buxton with an ADP of 65. Last season, he had 19 homers, 32 RBIs, 9 stolen bases with a 306 average, 358 OBP, and 647 slugging. Look, Byron Buxton gets hurt a lot. That's going to be the thing on him all the time. But that's why you get a discount on a player that is this talented. I'm looking at players who could be possible first-round picks in your fantasy drafts next year, sorry. You look at Bo, we talked about this before, kind of where he went, and now he's a first-round pick, consensus first-round pick. Byron Buxton could absolutely do this. So he had the best barrel percentage of his career at 17.9%. His sprint speed is in the 99th percentile, which should lead to more stolen bases. He has 30 stolen base upside for a guy that was on pace for 50 home runs. His max exit velo is in the top 4% of the league. He has an absolute elite tool set that you don't find in many players in the league, and that is why you take a chance on him, right? Sure, it's like, hey, Byron Buxton plays 80 games for you again, and you're like, this is a bust. This is the worst season of your life. But this isn't a first-round pick. This is a fourth-round pick, and I think that's why you need to take the chance. He was the best hitter in April last year. He followed that up by basically not playing for the whole summer, and then September, another good month there. So the injury concerns are real, but Byron Buxton is a league winner if you can get him on your team, and he stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean, the injuries, everyone's going to talk about that. People were so excited last year. Like, it was league winner was getting tagged around that guy for the whole start. It was like he won your league if you got him, because where you were drafting him was insane value. And the stolen bases, like you talk about, if this guy wants to steal 30 bases, he can 100% steal 30 bases. It just depends on if he wants to. Yeah. Guy's fast as freaking... He's probably one of the fastest guys in the league, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
For a guy that plays every day, I'd say he's probably one of the faster guys, for sure. Trey Turner, only guy I'd say who's probably faster than him.
I did follow sort of like the early round and mid round and late round. Still sort of, I guess you went 2 midders, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going with Jesse Winker, a guy I love, ADP of 93 to like 104 I saw on different sites.
Yeah.
I think this is like pretty absurd how late he's getting drafted, close to where he was getting drafted last year. Which is insane, because I remember someone told me he was obviously had a really good start to last season, and someone said, where would you draft him? And I said like 2nd or 3rd round.
We were fighting around the 3rd round,
And then now you're getting him at like the 8th, 9th round. I really like that. Like if you get him as your second or third outfielder would be optimal, but I think that would be really good. I mean, he had a 305 average last year, which was 16th in the MLB, and a 394 on base percentage. Like those two are so solid. Obviously he regressed, which is probably the reason why he's getting drafted later. But his expected batting average was top 6% in the MLB at 295. That's always good to look at. I guess like the analytics to this guy, underlining stats have always been good, and people have always been projected like a breakout season. I remember like 2 years ago, people were like, look out for Jesse Winker. Didn't happen. Look out for Jesse Winker in 2020. Didn't happen. Yeah. And then what you look at is the strikeout percentage in 2020 was 25%. Last year, you got that down to 15%. So obviously he's changed stuff at the plate. I don't see much changing in 2022. I think that he's going to be a solid player. Like I said, third outfielder, 100%. I think he's a must draft as ADP.
Pretty much more opportunity too if Nick Castellanos leaves. Mm-hmm. Also, Great American Ballpark is one of the better hitters parks in baseball. So why wouldn't you want a guy that hits there all the time, hits in the middle of the order? I think that's a good pick, Jer. My second guy, Pete Alonso, ADP of 61. Last season, 37 homers, 94 RBIs, and he hit 260. Pete Alonso hits 260. That's what he does.
Yeah, what he does. So
don't be worried about that. Mm-hmm. He had an amazing rookie season, obviously. What was it? The rookie record for home runs, I'm pretty sure he had. Then mildly disappointing COVID-shortened year. Mm-hmm. But this season, Pete Alonso improved his K percentage, whiff percentage, every single one of his contact metrics. His barrel rate went up and his hard hit rate went up, while having like the counting stats kind of went down as well. So he's one of those guys who's a three true outcome: strikeout, walk, homer. That's kind of how the MLB's been moving. But I think he made huge strides in his game to become a more professional hitter. All 3 years in the big leagues, he's been very durable. He's only missed 14 games in those 3 seasons, which, unlike Byron Buxton, obviously the best ability is availability. So you can count on Pete Alonso. He's being drafted as the 5th first baseman in fantasy drafts, and I think he has top 2 upside at the position behind Vlad and then fighting with Freddie Freeman. The Mets should also have an improved lineup this season, which would boost his runs and RBIs. Top 1% of the league in max exit velo. His expected batting average was 10 points higher than his actual average, and he's in top 8% of the league in expected slug. Like, what are we doing here? This is a great value of a guy who has been proven. The shortened year for a guy who isn't really a veteran, maybe a little concerning for people, but I think he followed up with a great year last year. There's no reason you shouldn't be in on Pete Alonso, in my opinion. Wait, there's one thing. He sucks at home. He's the worst hitter at home. I think he had 15 more homers on the road than he did at home, but we'll get it done.
Yeah. I think I want to say 2 things about Pete Alonso. Is one, you look at the home run derby, obviously like it's just proven that this guy has like an insane amount of power and could easily lead the league in home runs in any year. And 2, the New York Mets. Like the Mets have always been known to being a shitty offense, for some reason just can't produce anything. You look at this team, like this team should be better. Like it really should be better. And surrounded by guys like Lindor, who should have a bounce back year, you'd think, should only help really.
Yeah, Starling Marte too, getting on base, setting the pace for those guys. It should easily help RBIs.
Yeah, I completely agree. My last guy, I love this guy. Avery does like him as well, but I've just fell in love with him. It's Alex Kirilloff. He's very popular sleeper pick this year, and I didn't want to put him in the sleeper episode because I really think he's a must draft. 228 ADP, so you pretty much get to pick when you want to draft him. Why do we love him? I watched a couple of the games. I remember I made this big trade last year in one of my fantasy leagues to acquire him for very cheap, but his presence, like when you watch him play, he looks like a seasoned veteran.
He's a big body.
He's a huge body at 6'2", 195. The Twins were exploring him at first base, which means you'll probably get first base eligibility and outfield, which is a nice bonus. You'll take that. Now, why is everyone picking him as a sleeper? You'll see on most episodes, this episode, it's because his expected batting average was significantly higher than his batting average. Hits the ball hard. His barrel percentage was at 12, and his exit velo was averaging around 91, 92. While dealing with this wrist injury that he's been dealing with in the minors too, came up. Now he's got surgery. I'm expecting a big year from Kirilloff. I think that if I could get him as my 4th or 5th outfielder and rotate him in, I think it's a no-brainer.
The Twins should have very low expectations for the year. We should see our guy Jordan Balzovic in the big leagues hopefully this year. That would be huge for the pod. But I think it's just, hey, Alex, go out there and just hit the shit of the ball this year. No expectations. Just let him grow up in the big leagues this year. And I think he's going to pay off for fantasy managers.
Even Chris Clegg, right? We had him on the show last year. He mentioned him as in our must draft rookies. We talked about him. He sprays the ball, which is nice to see.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go with my last guy, and that is Zach Gallen of the D-backs, ADP of 136. Crazy unlucky year for Zach Gallen last season. He got hurt swinging in batting practice, but ended up throwing the most pitches in baseball from July 30th to the end of the season. So only 40 innings pitched in the first half, 80 in the second half, which makes me think he is fully healthy, fully recovered for this season. The D-backs are going to be very, very bad in my opinion. And one of the things that have hurt Zach Gallen, besides the good numbers in the past 2 seasons, have been wins. He has 3 wins, 3 wins, 3 wins, and he has 9 wins in 3 seasons, which isn't great. But if you're in some of those deeper leagues, the wins are going to be top heavy. That's why those guys go so high. So Zach Gallen's maybe not in a great spot for wins, but he's just such a good pitcher. You need to take him. He is going to outperform his ADP as the 39th starting pitcher being taken this year. I think it's a no-brainer that he's going to be well outperform that. He's a fastball heavy pitcher, but the metrics on his fastball are very good. He was one of the 7 pitchers who threw a 4-seamer more than 50% of the time and maintained a sub 300 weighted on base average against it. The other pitchers in that, Jacob deGrom, Carlos Rodon, Freddie Peralta, Glasnow, and then Zach Gallen. So StatCast, you look into it, it's like, holy shit, that's really ugly for 2021. But you look back to 2020, you look back to 2019, those numbers are really good. I think it was kind of an outlier year for Zach Gallen where the injuries kind of set him off. I like to see him pitching a lot, even if it wasn't really good at the end of the season. 2 things that kind of stuck out to me were his expected ERA being 35 points lower than his actual ERA, and his hard hit percentage this season going up 12 points.
Yeah.
Obviously, those 2 things are outliers. You'd hope that they regress to the mean of them, and he figures this out. And I think it's a no-brainer that it's going to. An increase in his breaking pitches used this season is going to help him a lot. He went from throwing his fastball 39% of the time in 2020 when he was really good to throwing it 54% of the time in 2021. If you're a pitching coach that has half a brain, you're going to tell Zach Gallen, you need to stop throwing the fastball so much.
Yeah.
His hard hit percentage was hard against him. And anyone in the big leagues can hit a fastball, right? Like, I give you fucking 20 tries, 94-mile-an-hour fastball, you're going to get 1 or 2 base hits, right? So I think looking at his pitch selection, he's going to throw the slider more. He's going to throw the curveball more. Zach Gallen's a very good pitcher. He's very young, too, so this injury, not too much to worry about. This is a guy I think you need on your team no matter what.
Yeah, getting an ace on a discount, we talked about it, right? Like, it's like, it goes back to even Bieber. I know he's early, but he has the potential to be a top 3 pitcher in the MLB, in all seriousness. And Zach Gallen could easily be a top 15, to be honest, like this year. Obviously, it's on a bad team, but you bet on talent, right? I always say that.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow us on social media.
Yeah, Skippers Baseball. Follow us on TikTok. I'm working hard. It's not working right now. Follow that. Road to 10K subs. I know it's a little early right now, but I'm going to start it right now. Get us to 10K. Follow for more. Man, fantasy baseball all preseason. Get you guys started. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.